Hi, it's Mike Panja, and today we're going to go back to basics. We're going to make a bone broth, a beef bouillon. This is the way your great-grandparents made it. No one would have thought to go to a market and buy a can of beef broth. It was made from scratch, no preservatives, no additives, no chemicals, pure and simple, just the way we're going to do it today. Before we get into how you do it, let's talk for a minute about why you should do it. Bone broth is an excellent source of amino acids and collagen. These things aid digestion, improve gut health, they improve your hydration, the elasticity of your skin, and reduce or prevent wrinkles. Also, it's a possible aid in weight loss. Now, the way you make bone broth is you get some soup bones. These are the large cow bones. Usually you can find them at a butcher shop or in the freezer section of your grocery store. What you do is you wash the bones, dry them, let them come to room temperature, and then you put them on a sheet pan, a single layer on a sheet pan at 400 degrees. Give them 2 hours at 400 degrees. Before you roast the bones, give them a light coat of canola oil. I use a brush to brush it on thinly all around, and that'll help brown them. You want them to get good and brown, but not burnt. So about 2 hours at 400 degrees will do it. Take a look at that time. If they need a little more, you could give them a little more. It's a good practice after 1 hour to turn them. Not necessary, but it's a good practice to get you more even roasting of the bones. Once you do that, you put them in a stock pot, cover them with as much water as will fit in the stock pot, about 8 inches or so if you can, and let them simmer either overnight or for a minimum of 8 hours. While it's simmering, check once an hour or so and skim any foam off the top. You want to skim, you want to keep it clean and clear, okay? After you've done that for about 8 hours, it's good to cool it as quickly as possible. So you can put some ice in your kitchen sink with a stopper, ice water, fill it up part way up the level of your stock pot, and let the stock cool. Once that's done, you can use it any number of ways. It's a good liquid to start making white rice or wild rice or brown rice. You can use the bone broth for that rather than using water. The way I use it personally is I draw a cup of it from my refrigerated container and heat it up, add just a little bit of salt. We'll get back to that in a second. And have it for a snack instead of something more fattening and more unhealthy. It's a healthy snack and something that's satisfying for me in the evening while I'm watching TV or just hanging out. Anyway, let's get on with it and make us some bone broth. About the salt. Well, it's kind of logical if you think about it. Anytime you're going to reduce a liquid, like you may do with this bone broth, you may want to reduce it and make the flavor more concentrated. But anytime you reduce it, it's dangerous to put the salt in before you reduce it. Because remember, the water content evaporates. That's what the reduction is. But the salt doesn't. The salt stays there. So as the liquid evaporates, the solution of salt just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So I advise you with any time you have a reduction to salt it after you're done reducing it. In the case of the bone broth, that's what I do. I don't salt it until I'm ready to use it or serve it. Before you start to wash the bones, set your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 200 Celsius. Once the bones have dried for a bit, I'm going to lightly brush them with canola oil. and set them in a single layer on a sheet pan. And it's into the 400-degree oven they go. That should do it. Let's take them out and get a look. Yeah. They've got that nice brown look to them. Now we'll put the bones in our stock pot. Cover them with water. I'm going to partially cover it to reduce the evaporation while it's heating. Once you've brought it to a simmer, it's just a matter of time. I'd like it to go all day, about 8 hours. And the only thing left to do is check it periodically and skim any foam or particles that float to the top. Skim them off and discard them. That's the only work you'll have to do. If you do that about once an hour, you'll be good. Now, I didn't want to leave the gas on the stove overnight, so I transferred everything to my slow cooker, put it on the lowest setting, and let it go overnight. Now I turn the heat up 1 notch, just enough to start a simmer, and I'm going to let it run for about an hour uncovered to reduce it a little bit and concentrate the flavor. Now I want to cool the broth down as quickly as possible, so I'm putting a stopper in my kitchen sink, ice cubes. I'm going to put cold water in and put the slow cooker liner right in the cold water to cool. I want to get it cooled down so that I can refrigerate and store it as soon as possible. Once the broth has cooled, we'll want to strain out the solids. Excuse me for this tiny little strainer I'm using. I can't find the big one that I had. I'm thinking maybe it had a hole punched in it and I threw it away and failed to replace it. At any rate, I'm going to do the best I can with this little tiny strainer, and we'll hope for the best. Pretty good. I think we even got a lot of the fat out. Once you've strained it, you can put it in mason jars, food storage bags, Tupperware, anything you like to refrigerate it or even freeze it if you like. I use this water jug, which has a spigot on the bottom, has the advantage of separating the fat out because the fat floats on top and we're drawing from the part with no fat on the bottom. Well, there we have it. Something that is extraordinarily healthy, yet easy to make. What could be better than that? If you haven't subscribed, once again, I'll remind you to subscribe. And I'm asking you, please, if you know anyone else interested in food and cooking, please share this video with them. And when you do, remind them that it will be in all of our best interests if they subscribed also. Please do it. Here's to your good health, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.